Once upon a time, in the land of Israel, there was a boy named Josiah. He was just a child when he became king, but his story would change the course of Israel's history. This is the story of a young king who chose to follow the ways of God, even when the world around him seemed to be falling apart. Josiah became king at only 8 years old. Imagine that, an 8-year-old on the throne. His father, King Amon, was most remembered for his idolatrous practices during his short 2-year reign, which led to a revolt against him and eventually his assassination. Josiah, his son, was a child, but he had a heart that would grow into one of Israel's greatest kings. As Josiah grew, he started to learn about Israel's past. He heard the stories of their ancestors, the great kings who had followed God's laws. But in his day, things were far from good. The people of Israel had turned away from God, worshipping idols and forgetting the teachings of the scriptures. One day, Josiah decided to do something about it. He ordered repairs on the temple of the Lord, which had fallen into disrepair. The temple was supposed to be a holy place, a symbol of God's presence among the people, but it had become forgotten and neglected. While workers were cleaning and fixing the temple, something amazing happened. They found an old scroll, the Book of the Law, the scriptures that had been lost for years. This book contained the commandments that God had given to the people of Israel long ago. It was like finding a lost treasure. When Josiah heard the words from the scroll read aloud, he was shocked. He realized how far the people had strayed from God's laws. He knew that Israel's disobedience had led to destruction and suffering. Josiah felt deep sorrow and distress because he understood the seriousness of what they had done. In his grief, Josiah turned to God in prayer. He asked for mercy and forgiveness for his people, knowing that their disobedience could bring more disaster upon them. But Josiah also knew it was not too late to turn things around. He made a bold decision. He would lead Israel back to God. Josiah didn't keep the good news to himself. He gathered the people of Israel, from the youngest to the oldest, and he made a powerful declaration. He promised to follow God's commands, and he urged the people to do the same. He even made a covenant, a sacred promise, with God that they would walk in his ways and serve only him. Josiah took immediate action. He went through the land, destroying the idols and altars to false gods that had led the people astray. It wasn't an easy task. Many people were angry, some were confused, but Josiah was determined. He believed that restoring true worship to God was worth any challenge. Under Josiah's leadership, the people of Israel began to celebrate the Passover again, the feast that reminded them of their freedom from slavery in Egypt. It was a joyous occasion, a time to remember how God had saved them, and how they could once again experience his blessing. Josiah's reign brought hope and revival to Israel. For years, the people had wandered away from God, but now they had returned. Josiah showed them that it was never too late to choose the right path, no matter how far they had gone astray. But even though Josiah did everything right, there were still consequences for the sins of the past. God told Josiah that destruction would still come to Israel, but because of Josiah's faithfulness, it wouldn't happen during his lifetime. Josiah had turned the hearts of the people back to God, and that was enough for God to honor him. Josiah's story teaches us something important. No matter how young or old you are, you can make a difference. You can choose to do what is right, to stand up for what you believe in, and to lead others toward goodness. Josiah's life shows us that one person, even a young person, can bring about real change. It's never too late to make the right choices, to repair what's broken, and to follow the path of truth.